Well, thanks for joining in. I guess if you want to start off and
Great.
kind of tell me who you work for, your name, and give all the information and kind of what you guys do and specialize in, things like that.
Well, my name is Paul. I work with shipsierra.com, and we're asset based PL. We're part of Sierra Companies, which is a it's the parent company essentially, and the parent company has an asset side and a 3PL side.
Awesome. So basically, I saw you on LinkedIn make a post about a load that basically you guys made sure it didn't get stolen. If you want to kind of give your whole spiel on that, like how did you catch it? How did you notice it? What was the whole story? And give your whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the dispatchers from the asset side books a load. A random broker calls him in and books a load, and he tells him, "Hey, I have a load going from Kentucky to Arizona." And you know, as standard operating procedure, he gets more details, and then he asks him, what's the rate? They agree on a rate, and he's goes back and forth with them and negotiates for $4,500. Right now, market value for a lane like that is much lower. So he thought he got a good deal, right? $4,500. And so, mind you, that broker called in, right? Or broker,
Okay.
the scammer or
Mm-hmm.
someone that's posing as a broker called in. And he calls me in and says, "Hey, Paul, something looks fishy here. I just got the rate confirmation and something is off. Can you check it out?" So I go, "All right, send it over." So he sends it to me, and I take a look at it, and I see, the fonts are different off from the rate. On the rate itself, where it says, it should have been, perhaps $2,500, but it says like a random fonted four added in, right? And you could just see it's edited because of the date it's edited.
Huh.
And then I asked him, I was like, "You booked this for this much? Like, are you sure you booked this for that much?" He's like, "Yeah, that's what I thought. It was weird. Why are they paying us so much?" Right. In some cases, whenever a customer needs
Right.
something picked up really fast and ASAP, they do raise the price because it's depending on urgency. But in this case, it was kind of like, huh. So I told him, I was like, "Hey, man, look, the driver is 30 minutes away. If it turns out to be true that it's a load that we're going to get picked up, if it turns out to be true, we can save this load by not letting the scammers have it, because the scammers were the guys on the phone were telling us, the asset side, they were saying, oh, it's going to be a blind shipment. It's going to Maryland. It's going to the East Coast, but we need you to take it to Arizona, right?" So that's where the kind of, when we started connecting the dots, and we're like, this is something fishy, right? I told them, "Hey, if you feel comfortable, send the driver in. Let's get it picked up. I'll reach out to the manufacturer." Or it was the yeah, there was a manufacturer of the guys that produced the product, and I'll reach out to them. I'll let them know, "Hey, there's a leak in your system where something's going on. You guys need to fix it because we just got your load of $150,000 worth of product, right? So it's a lot of it's a lot of product, and it's on our trailer, and we were told to take it to Arizona, right?" So the driver picks up the load, and lo and behold, the bill of lading does say it needs to go to Maryland, but they're asking us to take it to Arizona. And all of this time this is happening, I asked the dispatch guys, I tell them, "Hey, look, just start blocking their number. Don't pick up the phone from them." So
Right.
this is right after the truck got loaded up, right? And what happened was just pretty crazy. We blocked the first number, the second number, and they just kept calling off of different numbers. And we're thinking, like, dude, how do you guys have so much numbers? Come on, it's like one after another,
Right.
and you could hear the same guy talking. And then by the time it's like the eighth or ninth number, he figures out that we've picked up the load, but we're not telling him anything, right? So we were
Wild.
just
Yeah.
blocking the number. Yeah, we're blocking the numbers because we already kind of had a sense that it's going to be a scam. So, in order to prevent all of that, we blocked all of the numbers. The threats were coming in. They were emailing us a bunch of threats. We're gonna put a freight guard on you and all of that. And I just kind of kindly advised my guys. I'm on the asset side. I was like, hey, just don't worry about it. I'll handle it. I'll take care of it. And I reached out that same afternoon to the manufacturer, which then connected me with the distributor, which then connected me with their transportation management company. And the
Mhm.
distributor then told me to, hey, we're so happy that you guys didn't take it to Arizona. It needs to go to Maryland, right? And they asked us, hey, there's a warehouse nearby that we have our overflow product. You just take it there, right? So we managed to do
Mhm.
that, and we got everything figured out. I'm so happy it got figured out within 24 hours, which is crazy because sometimes with these huge companies, it's tough to get through the proper channels and you have to jump through a bunch of hoops. But here it's kind of like things happened instantly, which was great, right? And the manufacturer was very thankful. They even sent us a gift, and I was like, hey, look, we're just here. We're fed up with the whole fraud thing, right? It happened to us multiple
Right.
times where we've picked up a load and then the scammer ghosted us, and then we were stuck with product we didn't know whose it was and stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
like an instance with Amazon. We picked up an Amazon trailer and they just had us deliver it at a drop lot somewhere and they just disappeared. So what happened was my driver's sitting there for 5 days, and asking like, hey, what am I doing here? I got to get my trailer, and nobody knows anything, right? So we were fed up
That's
because
insane.
that story, it was crazy. We had to take that trailer. We took that trailer back. We hauled it across the United States, halfway through the United States, and then we had to take it back to Sacramento. And then reaching out to Amazon wasn't easy. It took about 6 months to get everything taken care of, right?
Wow,
So
that's insane.
yeah, it's just for me, I feel like there's need to be more awareness about this because there's a lot of fraud that goes on. I believe there was a
So
statistic that came out. There's over $5 billion of fraud every year that's being either stolen or taken or damaged or something like that in America, especially of damaged goods. So I guess you could say we're just doing our little part. We're not the biggest fish in the tank, but
no, and that
we're
definitely
just
helps.
doing
So
our
are
little
you
part.
changing have you guys changed the way that you vet your brokers then? Like, do you guys look them up in a certain way, or do you guys have you changed anything as far as like when you get a rate sheet, there's certain things you guys look for, or when a driver makes it to pick up, do they look for certain things, or have you made any, I guess, operational changes since that has happened?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So the asset side, what they do is they check the broker's email, which is a big one. Even if it's one by
Mm-hmm.
off by one letter, or if it's a .net or something like that, then it's automatically a kind of like a red flag. Like, all right, well, something was off, right? You always check the website. You want to make sure the website's good. You always check their address, and you always check their MC. But there's a huge but because this fraudulent carrier that booked the original load to Maryland that is sold it to us to go to Arizona, it's most likely just a carrier. And what they're doing is in the past they've booked loads with brokers before. So what they do is they take those old rate confirmations of that template and they apply any broker that they've booked with
Mm-hmm.
to this specific load that they're trying to pawn off to us, right? And all they do is just make those little font adjustments, date adjustments, and it sort of seems legit, but then when you zoom in and you look at it very closely, you're thinking like, dude, this has been altered already. So they're hiding behind a broker that a rate confirmation in the system that they had for a while, and they're just altering a couple of things. They're probably leaving that template on there, and they're just calling carriers that need freight and saying, "Hey, I got something for you, but it's going to be going at the East Coast, but we want you to take it to the West Coast," right?
Right.
So we have to look. we have to look out for, as well as, especially it's a lot of it comes down to a language thing as well. When there's an accent, when there's a very thick accent that you can, it's Middle Eastern or Eastern European, or you know any type of accents, you can kind of already sense that it could be
Yeah,
bad,
it's
because
something.
uh, yeah, because in logistics, there's a lot of drivers that come from different countries, with which, I love those drivers. But then at the same time, when it comes to brokers, I start to get very ticked off, or very cautious and skeptical when it comes to, hey, you have an accent, you're a broker in America. Are you even really in America?
Right.
Right? Are you
Right.
even
Right.
here to begin with? Can I FaceTime you right now and see where are you? Right? So,
Right.
um,
With that
yeah,
particular broker, were you already set up with that broker or did you have to do a contract?
I believe that they said that, oh, no need, you guys are already set up in our system. We'll just send you the recon.
Okay. And do you know what type of freight it was that was on that trailer?
Yeah, it was like eggnog, liquor or something like that.
Liquor. Okay. Got it. Crazy. Yeah. It seems like food and beverage is what they're really hunting right now.
Well, it's not only that; it's the high value stuff that they can actually offload quicker, because it costs more, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it just becomes, honestly, how to tackle this industry and this cargo theft. I don't think it's ever going to go away. But what we can do is do our little part. Every single carrier that's out there, every single broker that's out there, do their little part of being the better man and tackling it little by little. Because if everybody starts to tackle it, then, not only Paul with Sierra, that's tackling it, a small time company, but if everybody starts to do that, then we can see a change, right? We can see a shift in the industry. But it's
Right.
just something that the bad actors hide behind. They hide behind rate confirmations, they hide behind random emails posing as other brokers, and they just hide behind that, and it becomes a problem, a huge problem for everybody, especially.
And I think a lot of times they hide behind a blind shipment. That's like their go-to thing is to say it's a blind shipment and ignore
Yeah.
the BOLs, just follow the right confirmations. So whenever you're receiving like a blind shipment, what do you guys? Is there anything like special? I guess you can tell other carriers like you should check for this or ask that. Kind of like how you, I guess, reached out to the manufacturer. Do you feel like that's kind of like a go-to thing to do, or how would you handle that?
Usually when it's blind shipments, I've only had a couple blind shipments in my lifetime, I can say. But whenever it's usually a blind
Uh-huh.
shipment, the broker is like a thick Southern accent broker. You can trust him because he says he's hauled that multiple times, and it's he, from Texas or someone, and then you ask him like, "Hey, why is this a blind shipment?" And he tells you that my manufacturer has run out of product, so he's buying it from his competitor, but he doesn't want his customer knowing that, right? And that happens in the industry
Yeah.
all the time. So he
Right.
tells me, hey, it's the same product is here and the same product is there, but there's just two different labels. We don't want them to know that. It's part of business. I get it. If you need to service a customer, you'll do anything for them, right?
But usually it's where
So.
for a blind shipment, it's usually where like the shipping part is different more than the receiver, right? Or is there a good I guess seeing it both ways? Because there's usually you're delivering it somewhere.
Well, a blind shipment is you what it means is you don't want either one or two parties knowing where the shipment came from, or you don't
Hmm.
want them knowing that the shipment actually came uh, from your competitor. So, for example, let me put it to you in this perspective. Uh, say, um, what's a good what's a good beverage company right now? That's, let's say, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, right?
Hmm.
Let's just assume right now Coca-Cola and Pepsi are made the same exact way. Nobody can tell a difference, right? And Coke is
Right.
starting to run out of product, but I'm not sure what part of town are you in? What's the name of your local branch grocery store?
So I'm in Georgia, so Kroger would be one.
Kroger. So, okay. So, Kroger, for example, Kroger buys a certain amount of Coke products all the time, and Coca Cola's running out of product, and Kroger doesn't buy Pepsi product, but
Hmm.
Kroger buys Coke product. And so, say Coca Cola's running out of product, and they're saying that they won't be able to get them a shipment until next week. But here, Coke calls Pepsi and says, hey, we know we have the same product, we know we have the same taste. I'm going to buy whatever 5 tons of product from you. I want you guys to label it under Coke. I will pay you a premium for doing that, and I'm going to have one of my carriers come by and pick it up and deliver it to Kroger. So that's
Uh-huh.
considered a blind shipment, you know?
Right.
In a perfect world, that would happen if the company or if the product was the same, right? That's just a hypothetical. That's usually how blind shipments work.
Right. But normally, like they would have the Kroger delivery as Kroger delivery, but then the shipper part would show as like whatever the like the Coke or
Yeah.
whatever instead of showing from Pepsi.
Yeah. It would
So yeah,
show, instead of having it show, Pepsi in Jacksonville, Florida, Coke would issue a bill of lading saying this picked up out of Atlanta, Georgia, Coca-Cola, and it's delivering to Atlanta, Georgia, Kroger.
right, right.
But in reality, the shipment picked up from uh, Jacksonville and it went to into
Yeah. Crazy.
that's
Well, I'm thank you for sharing all this. And I do think there's a big like lapse in carriers being educated on how to handle these type of things. So I appreciate you coming on and like saying what you guys are doing, what you've seen. And I think the more we talk about it, the more carriers come together and say, this is what I'm seeing. This is the type of fraud. This is how I'm spotting it. And then, like you said, like
yeah,
getting it to the right place and actually delivering it away from these bad guys. It's scary because they blow
yeah.
you up and they're, sometimes they make threats and they'll say they're coming to your house and like all sorts of craziness.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're all it's scary because, they want to come most of these guys are overseas, but at the same time some of them are here and it's more of like, if
Right.
you're scamming someone, you're going to do everything you can to threaten them, to scare them. But in reality,
Right.
if they're overseas, chances are they're not coming here in America. They're just doing this because they know they're going to move on to the next person, the next sucker that comes on and takes one of their freight. So, what I would suggest for
Right.
brokers is vet your carriers as much as you can. Have question their legitimacy all the time. And on our asset side, before I moved away to the 3PL side, we've developed put certain measures in place to stand out from our competition and to make sure that we're more legitimate in our brokers' eyes, our customers' eyes, kind of like having extra certifications that the very large certifiable brands produce certifications. You pay a lot of money for those, but you are then certified and people know, oh, I know this company, they do
Right.
certifications, and they certified Sierra. Wow, Sierra certified with 9001, or they're certified with a food grade trailers type of thing, right? So these
Mm-hmm.
certifications come into play, and they work whenever you want to prove your legitimacy to someone, especially
Right.
customers that now need this because of freight fraud and theft and cargo loss.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a good point. I've never even heard of that perspective, having the different certifications and then proving that out. But that's a big way to stand out and really, like you said, theme look legit. I mean, prove you're legit, not look legit, but be able to
Of
prove
course.
it. Yeah.
Kind of like you have the
Well,
verified
awesome.
check mark on Instagram, right?
Right. Yeah. Being a verified
There
person
you
for
go.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, awesome. Well, thanks
but
so much for joining and telling the whole story. I really appreciate it. I know you're busy, but thank you again. And yeah, I guess that's all I got.
Danielle, no, feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions.
Well, I hope everybody learned a lot. They're from Paul from Ship Sierra. Definitely really interesting take on how the carriers are spotting things on their end. I've been hearing a lot more of this. So it's awesome that there's some education coming out there to carriers. They're learning that things to spot on and then really make sure that the deliveries are going to the right spot. I think biggest takeaway is look at the rate sheets, any type of weird fonts. That's definitely a big key there. blind shipments, that seems to be their biggest target is blind shipments. So really vet those blind shipments, talk to people. I keep kind of bringing that part up because I think as a carrier, that's really where they're getting in at. So if you, especially if it's a high value load and also having a blind shipment, that should really throw up some red flags for you. Well, stay tuned for the next Fraud Girl coming up next Friday, and we'll be the month of August. And actually, month of August, we're going to be focused on cybersecurity. So tune in there, and catch you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.
Make it.